Hello, once again, welcome to Bpendragon Presents with Bpendragon. At least I would hope so. I hope I haven't changed. I hope I'm still Bpendragon. Existentialism, or however it's pronounced, and possibly not even that, aside, I am using this time to make another announcement, real quick. After the initial influx from the first 6 or 7 videos or so, this being probably the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th or 6th to be released, depending on how I do it. I just, less than 5 minutes ago, I finished my recording of Chapter 2 of Hiatus. This is the Chapter 3 reading. So, depending on when this gets released, I'll probably be recording multiple chapters at a time, and then I will release on Mondays and Wednesdays and possibly Fridays. I'll try keeping a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule. If that does not work, I'll switch to a Monday, Thursday schedule. Okay. That is that. Yes. Now, on to the reading. 'Tis 12:02 Pacific Standard Time on the 6th of January 2012. We are going to be reading Hiatus. I need to get to the proper page. Hiatus Chapter 3. August. Sorry, page is really jumpy. Must upgrade from iBook. My dream computer will have, computer to just have will have a minimum of 3 GHz processor, a really nice graphics card, and a monitor to back it up. And yes, I will make it so it can run Crysis. Okay. We are on August. 2,415 words. Opening. Oh yes, 8 GB of RAM minimum. I love computers. Currently I've got 935 megahertz on my processor and 635 megabytes of RAM. There's a reason I keep saying loading, because the page is. Oh hey, cool, Vargras is online. How many readers do we have today? 3! Cool. Okay, beginning. Hiatus, Chapter 3. August. Equestria currently found itself locked in the worst drought it had in ages, and ponies all over the kingdom were suffering for it. Even within the stone halls of the palace, Luna found the heat to be sweltering. Her sister had been busy for the latter half of July and August thus far, trying to negotiate an end to the drought. Apparently, many of the Pegasi of the Clodsdale factories thought they were no longer being paid fairly, and decided to strike. No ponies at work in Clodsdale meant no storms. No storms meant no rain. No rain meant that the crops had failed, and the heat had risen to unbearable levels. Farms throughout the land had protested fiercely, and Sweet Apple Acres leading the pack. From what Luna understood of it, the mare that ran it was something of a hero in Ponyville. She had never heard of her, though, and wasted no more time thinking about it. She would be a hero. She rescued you. Okay. Yeah, strikes. Yeah, I know how they roll. Teacher strikes. I live near the Seattle area, so we get Boeing strikes often enough. They mess with everything. Okay, continuing on. Luckily for her, there was some areas of Camelot that stayed much cooler than others. Let me reread that. Luckily for her, there were some areas of Camelot that stayed much cooler than others. Even now, Luna carefully stepped down the stairway leading to the old playroom she and Celestia had used when they were young. Wait. Second. I thought the castle in the Everfree Forest was theirs. Don't go post about it in the comments below. I've read it. But like I said, I'm reading it as if this was my first time. So, yes. The stone floor and walls, as well as the underground location, kept it much cooler than the rest of the building. Some of the servants knew of its existence and simply never went for reasons unknown, and others didn't know about it at all. The room was in a dismal state, however. The paint had lost its bright and cheery hues over the hundreds of years of neglect, and the pattern of angelic ponies began to chip and flake away. The toys themselves were in far worse shape. Most had simply sat where she and Celestia had last left them. Stuffed animals lay flattened, their cotton filling gone. Building blocks had lost their paint and instead gathered dust, and the ink of the coloring books had long since faded, the crayons having turned into dull and muted shades. Part of Luna silently wept for such decay. After all, this had been their childhood. With the death of their parents, they had inherited an entire kingdom at an extremely early age, and this playroom was often the only thing the two of them had that reminded them they were still children. It had been a sanctuary of sorts from their royal duties, and the two sisters had spent countless hours down there, laughing and enjoying themselves. As with all things, though, time passed, the sisters grew, and one day they no longer had any interest in playing any more. To see the state it was in now, though, Luna began to regret ever leaving. This was her one and only link to the past, to her life from before. I suddenly had the entire Toy Story trilogy flash before my eyes as I was reading that. That is one of the few movies that has actually made me cry. Not kidding. There was one toy that stood out from the others, even in all the gloom. The princess's eyes went wide upon seeing it, and she slowly approached it, her hooves clacking upon the stone floor. It can't be! Sitting in the corner amidst the other stuffed animals lay what appeared to be a stuffed bird. It was a phoenix, based upon Philomena, from when their parents had owned her, and had been a gift to Luna from her mother, from their mother. Her mother? Their mother? Okay, I see what you're doing here, but it would seem to make more sense if you said her. You're saying theirs and the sisters, but then you're talking about Luna from their mother. Well, it would be Luna from her mother, I think would be the better way to say that. It had been well over 1,000 years, and many hundreds since she had last seen it, and yet it still had the same fiery and vibrant colors it had on the day she received it. It was also all she had left of her mother. Luna gently grabbed it in her mouth, slowly lifting it by the wing. The stitching, torn and frayed by the passage of time, sent the doll plummeting to the ground. Tears welled up in her eyes as she tried to pick it up. Despite her best effort, she felt herself wobble on uneasy footing. Her legs gave out from underneath her, and she winced as she landed upon the cold floor. All that mattered to her at the moment, though, was the doll. She had already lost so much. She wasn't about to lose her only remaining link to her parents. "Don't worry, Philomena. I'll fix you up. A good as new." Luna gingerly picked up both pieces and wordlessly left the playroom. She would be back another day, she told herself. She just needed some distance for a bit. "You're taking on an awful lot of hobbies, Luna. First drawing, now sewing. I didn't know you liked either." "Yeah, well, things change, Tia." "Looks like it. May I see what you're working on?" Celestia tried to peek over Luna and get a glimpse of her in her room. The sisters always seemed to be in front of her, blocking her view. If I had Pegasus wings and I was trying to hide something, I'd also use my wings as a shield. It'd all multiply the amount of area that you're blocking by quite a bit. It's a surprise, so no, you can't see it. Yeah, anyways. Luna knew she was lying, of course. She had known her sister for eons, and she knew she was notoriously bad at lying. It almost had good intentions, though, and for that was the lefty. I just want my tongue and I can't do a thing with it. Okay. Celestia was quick to let it slide. She smiled at Luna and gave her a poke before leaving. "Just don't forget to show me later, little sister." "Don't worry, I will." As soon as she was out of sight, Luna, not Celestia, Luna slammed the door and shut and ran back to her desk. Her horn glowed faintly as she picked up the thread and needle with her magic and set about the delicate task of repairing the doll. Philomena had been in far worse shape than she had initially realized, so it took far longer for her to repair the toy, but the end result was worth every hour of effort. Wouldn't it be also worth every... my screen just jumped. Wouldn't it also be worth every second of effort, too? Okay, my screen jumped up, not down. Okay, where am I? Philomena had been in far worse shape than she had initially realized, so it took far longer for her to repair the toy, but the end result was worth every hour of the effort. Setting the needle aside, Luna looked fondly at it and picked it up, giving it a test hug of sorts. She found herself being pulled back to when she had first gotten it. Memories raced through her mind as she began to recall those lost years. She remembered how happy she had been when her mother gave her Philomena for her birthday, and how she had slept with it every night. She remembered the stories and adventures she would often make up with the doll, and how she began to avoid playing with Philomena after her parents had passed away. Now, though, it was the most priceless thing in her possession. Luna, is that what I think it is? Luna turned and held the doll in front of her for Celestia to see. The elder sister almost always had a smile or expression of neutrality on her face. But to see her again after all these years, she found it difficult to keep her composure. You fixed Philomena up and everything. It doesn't look like she's aged today. Where did you manage to find her? Down in her old playroom, Tia. She was down there with all our other old toys. Celestia sighed silently and looked out the window of Luna's room. I haven't been down there in ages. How is it? Do you want an honest answer? Yes. It's pretty bad, Tia. It'll take a bit to fix it up again. Celestia lowered her head a bit. I assumed as much. Sometimes I wonder what it would have been like if we had been lucky enough to have normal childhoods. You're the daughters of royalty. Normal does not fall in your definition of childhood. If anything, you'll have photo finish and all the paparazzi and photographers all over you, no matter where you go. Makes me kind of feel sorry for Kate Middleton. I mean, yes, she's a princess now, but poor gal can't do a thing. No, not that she can't physically do a thing, it's that she can't do a thing without everybody overanalyzing it. Like the peanut butter thing a couple weeks ago. What was with that? She just had some peanut butter, or passed the peanut butter, or whatever it was she did. But everybody's overanalyzing it. Seriously. Okay. I'm gonna fix it up, Celestia. The elder sister looked at her and looked up and over her shoulder at Luna. It's a noble goal, sister, but that's an awful lot of work for one pony. I know it is, Tia, but I still want to do it. A lot of her past is still down there, and I want to try to save what I can. I understand. If any pony can do it, Luna, it's you. I know. That's why I volunteered for it. Luna grinned from ear to ear, though she was quick to wipe it off her face when Celestia turned around, sporting one of her own. Hey, Luna, guess what? Tickle Monster? Tickle Monster! I did not know my voice could go that high. Wiping cheesy grin off face now. During scene break, sorry. It was the beginning of a recurring dream. Each night the dream varied ever so slightly, but for the most part it was the same. The stars will aid in her escape, and the elements of harmony, over and over. The mare from before was not alone this night, and Luna found herself surrounded by the figure and 5 others. No matter how hard she tried, the 5 simply remained shadows. She had no way to identify them. The figure stood her ground the entire time, staring within Luna and repeating a new phrase. The connection runs deeper than you realize. Connection? What connection? The dreams constantly spoke in riddles, and no matter how much she researched and invested into things, she could never solve them. Instead, they continued to pile up, threatening to bury her. Part of her felt disconcerted from the rest, yet she still had heard herself plead with the figure, begging it to tell her just what the connection was. As before, any attempts at a clear answer resulted in the figure telling her that she needed to solve it herself, and not long after, she would wake up in a sweat. Given how the weather had been, though, she wasn't certain if it was a result of the heat or the dream itself. Regardless, it had become a nightly ritual, an incredibly vivid dream, More riddles, and fewer answers, at which she would wake up, her body shaking and gasping for breath. She tried not to let it bother her, but it became increasingly more difficult to get a decent night's rest. Fortunately, though, Celestia had yet to notice. Journal entry, August 12th. Celestia still hadn't been able to negotiate anything between the Pegasus workers and their employers. All of Equestria feels like it's about to riot over this heat, and my dreams aren't making it any better. They're getting increasingly more vivid and bizarre, and each seems to end with me having more questions than answers. Well, if you've got a question at all, generally you've got more questions than answers until the answer is given. But I believe you're saying that you're getting more and more questions and not getting any answers at all. Planning on working on our old playroom today. It's been a long time since I've actually painted much of anything. Hopefully I'm not too bad at it. She quickly set the quilt down and hopped from her stool, her destination clear in her mind. The clatter of her hooves rang out as she followed the staircase down, going through the passages that few had ever traveled through. Celestia had been by earlier and dropped off several paint cans and brushes for Luna's to use. In addition, the candles had been relit and enchanted to never burn out. It was slowly beginning to feel like the playroom from her childhood. With a horn aglow, several of the brushes came to life and dipped themselves into the different cans, flying towards the walls and painting at an unnatural speed. Wait, don't you need to clean off all the dust first? Because if you paint over the dust, you'll... I don't even know what that'll look like. Okay. I'm assuming that she's cleaned the dust off then. Ever so slowly, the decay that had built... Nope, she hadn't. Ever so slowly, the decay that had built up over the millennium began to fade away. The vibrant hues that lay buried underneath began to show once more. She worked at a frenzied pace, and she found herself painting things she didn't think she was capable of. She painted ponies and animals, towns and castles, and even a dragon here and there. Luna smiled as she continued to work, delighted that it was beginning to feel just like that same room of yore. The paintbrushes came to a rest, laying themselves in the bucket of water. Eee! Please tell me it's just the bristles in there, because if it's anything past that... Sorry. Princess Luna sat down to admire her work. It sounded silly, but it felt like a small part of her childhood had been regained. She had initially hated the idea of a year-long break, but she began to think of everything she would have missed out on if she hadn't been told to rest. Philomena potentially would have been lost to the ages, and it had been worth it just to save that small part of their past. She had managed to save much more than that, though. Yet, despite how happy she was, she felt odd. Looking down at herself, she quickly realized what it was. Paint? Really? I didn't even physically pick up the brushes and I've got paint on my coat. Luna sighed to herself, picked up her mess, and headed back to the stairs. Playtime would have to wait another day. Right now, it was bath time. Journal entry, August 24th. They say you do your best thinking while in the bath. I have to say that, after rigorous testing, it's a little cow dung. I second that, Princess Luna. Let's write a paper. Every time I've taken a bath, and I've hoped that maybe, just maybe, it would give me the breakthrough I need to get rid of these dreams. I'm still no closer, though. It always feels like 2 steps backwards and no steps forward. But that's completely kills the saying. Yeah, it does, because it's usually 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Or 2 steps back, 1 forward. Yeah, whatever. At the very least, it seems that like Celestia was able to sort things out. It's beginning much cooler, but the farmers still don't seem happy. I can hardly blame them. Luna heard her sister outside her room, though it hardly sounded like she was coming to chat with her sister. Curious, she hopped off her stool and walked as quietly over to the door as her hooves would allow it. Just outside, Celestia was in talks with a lavender mare. Lavender mare! Luna gasped and was quick to muffle it with her own hoofs, spying some more and learning what she could. The lavender coat, the purple mane, she even the pink streak. She had fit the bill so far, but there was one last detail. If only she would turn just ever so slightly. Outside, Twilight Sparkle was in deep talks with her mentor. She had decided to hand-deliver the latest friendship report and quickly found herself discussing it with the princess. She had the strangest feeling she was being watched and briefly turned to investigators. But soon stopped herself. Giving Celestia her undivided attention was much more important. I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut. Anything I could think of is so messed up. Sorry. Within her room, Luna was speechless. She saw the mayor's horn. Everything fit her to a T. It just had to be her. Still, she knew she was overreacting, and rightfully so. All this fuss was over a dream. It would be the best if she simply took her time digesting this piece of knowledge. Maybe the dreams would stop when she did. Not surprisingly, they didn't. Okay, I have one real issue right now. And that is that Luna obviously was in a walking coma for the events at the end of The Mayor and the Moon. Or The Elements of Harmony, pardon me. Season 1, Episode 2. Because I am 95% certain she would have remembered Twilight Sparkle. 1, from saving her, and 2, from the ceremony in Ponyville itself. And that Celestia called her that by name as she had Spike write up the decree saying that Twilight would live in Ponyville. Maybe I'm just reading way too much into this. Also, during this time that I've been reading, we're 3 readers. Wait, where we had 3 readers before? I don't know. I may start putting little yellow text blurbs up, like I talked about. Yes. Okay. This has been another episode of Bpendragon Presents. A man, some fic, a microphone, and a lowercase p. Bpen is out. Peace!